So I'm going to ask Glenn to come up, and then we'll break out into some more discussion.
Thank you, Kate. Really appreciate that we had that conversation earlier today about cooperatives, because it's a very good point. As Kate mentioned, since my Peace Corps service, I worked subsequently with an organization called ACDI VOCA, which is Agricultural Cooperative Development International, Volunteers in Overseas Cooperative Assistance. And to make it even better, they merged the two to call it ACDI VOCA. So two organizations that came together to work together. And not only the roots of that organization being in the cooperative community in the United States led it to work primarily in that effort internationally in terms of building associations, cooperatives and associations to be able to work together to be a stronger cohesive unit. But as well, then eventually through that organization I also worked in community development and essentially founded ACDI VOCA's community development practice area. And so for me, both of those aspects, community development and the cooperative movement, or the working together, cooperating, as Kate said, are so important to me in terms of how I see what we can do as a group of 210 or 220,000 individuals who are the Peace Corps community, how we can work together toward that one common cause. And as our mission of the NPCA is to champion and connect the Peace Corps community in engaging and bringing the world back home, that's how we're going to work together to do that, is as a group, as these groups and as a group in whole. Let me just check, is this working okay with this on? Okay. She wired me because I said I was not going to be using a microphone and maybe standing in the middle of the room, but I think it's probably best for me to use a microphone here. I just had a great break because I ran into, well, somebody ran into me and I looked at his name tag and I looked up at him, and it's Claude. And Claude was a volunteer with me in Guatemala 25 years ago, and I haven't seen him since. And it was, I didn't recognize him. I had to read his name tag first. He'd gotten taller since I knew him. and grayer, yes. But Claude, it's just really great to see you here and your family. I hope to get to see you at some point. I also had the chance when I was up here in Boston earlier to meet with another volunteer I hadn't seen for quite some, well, since he's COS, which was David Ward. Now lives and works here in Boston. He couldn't be here this weekend, but Claude and I, well, Claude actually worked more closely with David than I did, so I regret that we missed him this weekend. But that just was the highlight of my break, and I had to mention it and give a shout out to Claude back there. Thank you. I'd like to also shout out and thank Kate. Kate's just been wonderful in coordinating the activities of the Group Leader Forum and organizing this event and bringing it all together for this. And it's great to see such a great turnout, and I think she deserves a round of applause for that. She is definitely the type of person that we need here, and we're just really fortunate to have her to work as a group leader coordinator and be involved in this Peace Corps Connect this year. Thank you, Kate, so much for that. This was for me what I considered as I learned more about the Group Leaders Forum and as I learned about how it fits into Peace Corps Connect, the single most important event that I was looking forward to, because for me, again from that cooperative background maybe, but more so because I believe that as the NPCA as an organization is a product of grassroots movements being formed some 30 years ago by grassroots movements in the Midwest and other groups coming together and forming an umbrella organization. Our mission in terms of bringing the world home through the development of the third goal is one that will be accomplished at the grassroots level. It's not something, it's not a group of people sitting up on 1900 L Street in Washington that make the NPCA what it is. It is not a staff of 6 or 7 people up there and a few volunteers and a few others. It's not even just the membership, but it is us seeing ourselves as stakeholders in that third goal in terms of bringing the world back home, connecting with our communities, continuing in our service, and really continuing to be a part of what our service was that started as Peace Corps volunteers. And we take that to the grassroots level, and it comes from the grassroots level. And so For me, I really want to spend as much time as I can here this weekend, and in particular in this forum. And as I told Kate when we talked about this, I'm on a listening campaign. I've listened a lot. I've had a good number of chats with some of you in the course of the last 3 or 4 months. And what I have heard is there is a lot to be said, a lot to be heard from the member groups. And I really feel it's important for me to be able to capture as much as I can, take inventory, really learn from you what you're doing, and understand and appreciate how we can work together, how we can cooperate together in our mission of connecting and championing the Peace Corps community. We ask a lot of times, what does the NPCA do for me, or what do we do for the NPCA? And I would have to say that for me, one of the questions that I would pose ourselves is, what can we do together? Because, again, from that cooperative spirit, this isn't about what the NPCA as a single entity or an office in Washington or an office wherever it may be does as a group or individual group or as a member group or as individuals, but is what we can do for each other. I want to hear, and I'm very interested in hearing and understanding how those of us who are part of the team and the staff in Washington can help facilitate what the member groups would like us to do. I'm very interested in hearing how we can serve those groups better. Where I worked at ACD Avoca, I worked in the field almost all of that time, with the exception of 4 years in the headquarters office. And my former colleague here, Sandra, can attest to the fact that when I did come to headquarters, I said, it's all about the field. It's all about what's going on out there in the field. It's not about us here in headquarters. So we have to kind of flip that headquarters-centric mentality sometimes. And I think that's incumbent upon all of us who are part of the staff here, and that is to say that our role is a service-oriented role toward you. We want to be customer-oriented in terms of how we can work with the member groups, how we can support together the Peace Corps, we can support the activities of the Peace Corps community, how we can help to engage and inform and connect each other. There may be a group like the Washington RPCV group, and has new leadership now, but they've had tremendous leadership and tremendous growth over the last couple of years, thanks in part to those people that are sitting right there at that table. And they're a good group that can share so much with other groups. And that's not something that we do for them or they do for us. It's what they're doing for the community here. And for me, that exemplifies how we're working together in strengthening what we all do as a common mission. The Iran Peace Corps group as well utilized this forum, Peace Corps Connect, for their, I'm not sure if it's annual or it's a reunion of sorts that they hold, that they have decided to hold within the context of this Peace Corps Connect. And I applaud them for that, because it draws in others for learning about and hearing about what they have to say in their panel discussions. And of course they have a camaraderie amongst them that they can share with each other. But they have so much to offer to the other groups as well. And I'm sure, as we know, there are probably no more volunteers coming out of Iran these days. They may need to talk to other groups that also are in the same situation and understand how they can continue the efforts that they're doing without any new volunteers coming into the organization. So I really think that those are the types of models that we would like to see, especially built into Peace Corps Connect, as we get rolling on Nashville next year. And I want to congratulate Angela's here, right, somewhere? Oh, sorry, there you are. I really want to congratulate you guys, because what you presented to us as the motive for having Peace Corps Connect in Nashville was compelling, and it was interesting. And of course, we all love Nashville, and it must have been that southern twang that also convinced us a little bit. But we're going to have an outstanding Peace Corps Connect here with all these members and the member groups that are being a part of it. And I know that down in Nashville, we're going to have a really great event down there as well. One thing I'd like to see is that Nashville show their leadership as the Boston group has. Where's the Boston group? Somewhere around here? Somebody from the Boston group? Not here, okay. They're downstairs doing the work. They're downstairs doing the work, but really, I had a chance to meet with the Boston group early on and discuss with them how this was all coming together. working with our staff in Washington to organize this event. We really want to see locally driven initiatives out of these Peace Corps Connect activities. And to the extent that obviously the local groups can do that, the member groups, they'll need support because they're all volunteers. They all have day jobs, I presume, and they have a lot of things on their plate. So we're going to work together in that, and we're going to cooperate in that effort. And we're going to see locally driven ways that we can, I would like to connect with the local community. We've connected here with Boston in a way through the One Fund. Many of you saw as you registered, you had the opportunity to give to the One Fund. Many of you also have engaged maybe in some activities here in Boston as a part of that. We really want to engender that sort of a community connection as we bring the world home from our Peace Corps service and engage with the local community. So I envision that the Peace Corps Connect will be more and more so community-driven, grassroots-driven, as would be very much appropriate, obviously. I have just also a few other things that I think, from talking with staff and member groups and other individuals, what we can do, and I think, we focus on those three areas in which we feel the NPCA can offer the greatest value to member groups. And that is in connectivity and in forum like this where we can interchange ideas and concepts and best practices, lessons learned. In the engagement, by providing the service opportunities, we also, as you know, have programs that are offered by the NPCA in terms of the mentoring program. I've seen some of the numbers on the mentoring program, and I've talked to a number of individuals who have been involved with it, and I've talked to others who have not, and somebody in particular who said, I'd really love to be involved in the mentoring program. And there's a demand for it, especially from the recently returning Peace Corps volunteers. And so we need to scale that up and be able to offer it and provide it to a larger number of returning Peace Corps volunteers. And that relies on the member groups and the diverse groups out there within the communities that can link in with the returning volunteers and provide that support. And one of the things I think that we work on, but we need to improve on pretty as much as we can also, is informing. I'd love to see more information in our website, NPCA, that brings out the information from the member groups and creates greater awareness and promotion of the member group activities, from book sales to their monthly events or annual events. I'm also expecting that there's a lot more that we can do as the NPCA together for each other, and there's probably some things that we can do as the NPCA, those of us in Washington who are tasked with facilitating that. And I'd like to actually spend probably the rest of my time that I have, which I'm not sure exactly how much that is, in capturing inputs from you. And Kate, I don't know what the forum for that is. Is that where you're organizing your small groups for that? Yeah, do you want me to open for questions right now, or would you rather
questions for you right now? That would be good. Yeah.
Questions for me, a few questions, and then the next forum will be more to formulate those specific ways in which we can work together, right? Okay. I forgot to mention one thing that I know that has been mentioned to me several times, is providing cross-cutting services or providing administrative and legal support to member groups, particularly the nascent organizations or the ones that are in that incubation period where they may not have their legal framework, may not have a cohesive group of membership that is yet functioning as strong as other members. There are probably some of those things that we can provide. We do need to look at more of the legal issues around that, but web hosting, for example, and the like. We're looking at all those things, but I'd love to hear more about how we can help in that area as well. So, questions, and I'll defer I'll reflect the questions to Ann, who's been working with the member groups forever. Yes, Chris.
I just want to know what efforts are being undertaken to reach out to RPCVs who are not recently returned, non-recent returnees. The whole, was it 200,000 campaign? Can you give us a little update on that?
Yeah, Jonathan could if he were here. I don't see him here, but in general, oh, he is. I'm sorry. He's right behind somebody. I couldn't see. But I would just say that it goes in surges. It's not a specifically funded campaign, but it is one that has a priority. It has end goals in mind, and we expect to reach them. Jonathan, if you want to elaborate a little bit on that.
I mean, I think one of the things that is going to be key too is the infrastructure for us to create a mechanism that's going to make the loading of the data that we get plus the sharing of the data that we get a key element of this effort. In terms of, I think for you all as groups, one of the things that becomes pretty critical, and we've tried to work with a couple of groups on this Tennessee a little bit, and Friends of Guyana was one idea, is trying to just make connections with you as member groups to see how we can strategically reach out, and how do we go beyond just the traditional means of putting the word out about who we are. It's a really tough challenge, and I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And it's also something where I think it's a capacity challenge for us in terms of the strategizing and making it happen. But I think one of the things that has great potential is tapping into our resources both ways to try to make sure that we're reaching out to as many people as possible, and then trying to figure out ways to say, who aren't we reaching and how can we do that? And I'm really open for ideas that people might have along those lines about some good ways to try to
Right, and I'm sorry, I will just add to that. Jonathan mentioned the infrastructure challenges that we have, and really to be applauded here are a number of groups, and we'll mention them in detail tomorrow in our plenary session, but the RPCV's Wisconsin-Madison, who initiated a campaign that has led to a matching campaign as a result for helping to transition our mentoring program to the updated database that will allow us to expand that. It will also enable us to make some of the first steps in being able to integrate our database systems so that we can share information, for example, membership information better with the member groups and vice versa. It's definitely something that I know that is a challenge for us right now that we need to be responsive to. So we're in the process of that, and thankful to those groups who have contributed to help make it possible. Yes.
Maureen Chen of Connecticut. My question was going to be exactly how are we going to be able to use this database differently? Because right now it's a very difficult process to use, and I'm sure it's just because it's antiquated. And I'd like to also encourage other groups to consider donating, because this is only going to help us. I mean, it's self-serving for us to give money to the NPCA to update the database. I asked, Connecticut's a small group, but I asked for $250, and everyone agreed. So, how many times do we get unanimous from a Peace Corps board? So, but truly, it's self-serving for us to give the money to you because it's only going to help us, in my opinion.
We entirely agree with that, and it's very and thank you for the plug. It is going to serve all of us, because the more information that we can exchange, and I think we would envision that our database system would be one in which the member groups can be able to use it actively for their purposes as well as ours. There are some groups that may or may not want to participate in that, but to veil it and to make it possible for them to do that is a priority for us. Up front here, sorry.
Do you ever envision the database being able to take over handling of the database for the member groups? Because that is one of the most onerous functions of managing a group, is to receive the dues and maintain that membership information. Any chance that NPCA might be able to do that for a fee for those maybe who aren't NPCA members also?
Right. I wouldn't use the word take over, but I would use the word assume that responsibility and function. I think it is something that I have heard that it would be very useful for the member groups. Obviously, we don't want to take that information and manage it as our own. It is information that is of the community and of the organization as a whole. So yes, we would want to see our database we want it to see it do everything it can. The Oracle-based database that we have can do so much for our community, from helping us organize events. You know, that this particular event was, the registration was fed into this database that we have, but the mentoring program and a number of the other programs that we have need to be able to speak in common. And so making that consolidation is going to be so important, and I believe then we can really make it function to the utmost, to the optimum for the member groups as well, in whatever capacity or whatever level that they feel they need. Yes.
Glenn, could you describe for us what your relationship is with the National Peace Corps at this point?
The Peace Corps agency?
Yes.
Sure. Well, I've had a number of meetings, and with Ann and others, we've had a number of meetings over there just to continue the relationship with the Peace Corps. I see the Peace Corps agency obviously as our foremost and first ally in the business that we're in, and that is in bringing the world home, the third goal, and in any other way that we can mutually support each other. And I believe that I view them as our client and a member of our community, a valuable stakeholder in everything that we're doing. So we want to build a very strong relationship there. The meetings that I've had with Carrie, who is still acting director, there's not a director nominated yet, and that will continue for who knows how long. And with Stacy Rhodes, the chief of party, who I've known for over 25 years as in the development world. We've established a good rapport. We've continued the ongoing relationship that the NPCA has had with the Peace Corps, but I really believe that we understand we're going to build something stronger and better and more collaborative. And some of the discussions that I've had with them have been about working on areas of interest to the Peace Corps, such as public-private partnerships, and building those partnerships. The Peace Corps has as a priority the P3s, or public-private partnerships, for basically the future of the organization, and they have established an office for that. And we represent here a number of entrepreneurs and private sector businesses and public sector entities as well, but in particular those contacts that we have throughout our networks with the private sector that can actually help build a solid base with the Peace Corps for that part of their endeavor. And I think it is something we've explored, we've taken to an exploratory level that we're going to look into a little bit more in terms of being able to work with them on those areas. There is traditionally a cooperative agreement with the Peace Corps to conduct certain activities. We're approaching that not from the perspective of what is the cooperative agreement we will implement, but more so how can we offer services to the Peace Corps that enhance the Peace Corps' mission and support it. And we're going to continue those discussions, identifying those specific and concrete areas that we can work together.